It's the smell that stays with you. Not the decay, you get used to that. It's the chemicals. The sharp, sterile bite of formaldehyde and the metallic tang of sterilized steel. It's the smell of enforced cleanliness. A smell that insists death is just a biological problem to be solved, catalogued, and filed away. I used to find comfort in that smell. It was the scent of order, of science, of control. My name is Dr. Alan Kane. I was, until 2009, a junior pathologist at the Los Angeles County Department of Coroner. I was good at my job. I was meticulous, detached, and ambitious. I believed in evidence, in things I could see, touch, and measure. The human body was a machine, and my job was to find out why it stopped working. I didn't believe in ghosts, curses, or the supernatural. I believed in data. Then came the high-profile case. We just called it that. HPC. We weren't allowed to use his name. The media frenzy outside was a distant storm, but inside the pressure was immense. Every I dotted, every T crossed. I wasn't on the primary autopsy, of course. I was too junior. But I was tasked with running supplemental toxicology and histology on the tissue samples. It was grunt work, but it was the grunt work. The case that would define the office for a decade. My vulnerability wasn't a new house or an old object. It was ambition. I wanted to be the one who found the detail everyone else missed. I was working late, my eyes burning under the fluorescent hum of the lab. The primary team had focused on the propofol, the benzodiazepines. It was a clear-cut overdose. My job was just to confirm and close the loops. I had dozens of slides to review, tissue samples from every major organ, stained purple and pink. I was on slide L4, liver. I adjusted the focus, scanning the neatly ordered hepatocytes, and then I saw it. It wasn't a tumor. It wasn't necrosis. It was an inclusion. Tucked between the cells was a structure that didn't belong. It was crystalline, almost geometric, like a snowflake made of silver. It was impossibly small, yet complex. It looked less like biology and more like microcircuitry. I checked the stain. I checked the prep. I pulled the backup slide, L5. It was there too. Artifacting, I muttered, rubbing my eyes. Contamination from the slide preparation. It had to be. It was the only rational explanation. I've seen dust, fibers, even tiny scratches look like monsters under a 400 times magnification. But this pulsed. I leaned back, blinking. Number. It didn't pulse. The light above was flickering. I was tired. I'd been working 18-hour days since he died. I logged it in my notes. Unidentified crystalline anomaly, likely stain artifact. L4, L5, and filed the report. I shut down my microscope, the lab plunging into the quiet dark. The silence of the morgue is heavy. It's a silence full of finished stories. That night, in my clean, modern apartment in Westwood, I heard it for the first time. It was a sound like tiny glass wind chimes, a faint, melodic whispering. I checked the windows. They were closed. The AC vent? I turned it off. The sound remained, faint, seeming to come from the walls themselves. I chalked it up to the neighbors, thin walls, new building. I put in earplugs and went to sleep, my mind too tired to argue. The next day, I mentioned the anomaly to my superior, Dr. Chen. He was a man who survived on caffeine and cynicism. "Artifact, Kane," he said without looking up from his paperwork. "We're focusing on the toxicology. The world wants to know about the propofol, not your dust particles. Close it out." His dismissal should have been the end of it. It should have validated my rational explanation. But instead, it felt like a door slamming shut, leaving me on the wrong side. It planted a seed of obsession. He didn't look. He didn't see it. The sounds in my apartment got worse. The melodic whispering wasn't random. It was a tune, a complex shifting melody that I couldn't pin down, but which felt familiar. I'd catch myself humming it while I brushed my teeth. And with the sounds came the visuals, a flicker in the corner of my eye, like a speck of glitter or a bit of static. I'd see it in the reflection of my TV screen, in the chrome of the coffee machine. When I turned to look, it was gone. My rational mind, the pathologist, was in overdrive. I was stressed, sleep-deprived. The pressure of the HPC was manifesting as a mild auditory visual hallucination, a textbook case. I prescribed myself a weekend of sleep, but the melody wouldn't let me sleep. It was becoming insistent. I started to feel like I was being watched. The sterile safety of my lab, my apartment, began to feel thin. The world felt porous, like something was leaking in from the edges. I couldn't let the slide go. I became convinced Chen was wrong. What if it wasn't an artifact? What if it was the detail everyone missed? My ambition was replaced by a creeping, gnawing dread. Against all protocol, against all common sense, I went back to the lab on Sunday. The building was empty, the morgue downstairs silent. I retrieved slide L4 from the secured files. My hands were shaking. I wasn't a scientist anymore. I was a thief. I took it home. I have a small research-grade microscope in my study, a graduation gift. It felt different here, in my home. The sterile tool was now an accessory to my obsession. I locked my apartment door. I drew the blinds. The only light was the white-blue glare from the microscope's illuminator. I mounted the slide. There it was, the silver snowflake. I stared at it for hours. The melody in my apartment grew, swelling to match my focus. The whispers were no longer whispers. They were a choir, singing in a language I didn't know but somehow understood. It was a song of hunger. Under the intense light, the crystalline structure wasn't static. It was pulsing, a slow rhythmic expansion and contraction. It was alive. My scientific mind shattered. This was not biology. This was something else. I did what any terrified, desperate man in the 21st century would do. I went online. I didn't search medical journals. I knew this wasn't in them. I searched the dark corners of the web, the conspiracy forums, the fringe physics message boards. I typed in crystalline organism, sonic parasite, biological resonance. I found it. A single post on a defunct forum, written by a physicist who had apparently been discredited. It wasn't a paper, it was a rant, a warning. He called it an eco-organism. He theorized that it was an extra-dimensional entity, not a parasite that fed on blood or tissue, but on resonance, on energy. Specifically, the unique, high-frequency energy generated by mass human adoration. It was, he wrote, a fame parasite. It's drawn to a singular point of focus, a musician, an actor, a prophet, someone who holds the attention of millions. It bonds with them. It enhances their light, their talent, their perceived magic, making the adoration grow, which in turn feeds the entity. But the cost, the post read, was the host's physical body. It couldn't consume them quickly, or the resonance would stop. So it slowly, meticulously, replaced their cellular structure with its own crystalline matrix. It tuned them, vibrating them to its own frequency until they finally burned out, their bodies unable to contain the energy. My blood ran cold. The post described the host's final years: physical decay masked by drugs, erratic behavior, isolation, a body that was essentially crystallizing from the inside out. And then, the final, terrible paragraph. The entity does not die with the host. It lies dormant in the remains, dormant in the knowledge of its existence. It is an information-based life form. To observe it is to attune to it. To know the secret is to become a beacon. It will seek a new host. It will seek the one who sees it. I looked up from the computer screen. The melodic choir had stopped. My apartment was dead silent. The power went out. I sat in the pitch black, my heart hammering against my ribs. The only light in the entire apartment was the faint, silvery pulse coming from the eyepiece of my microscope. It knew I was here. It knew I had seen it. The secret was out, and it was hungry. The following week, my life dissolved. The entity was no longer subtle. The static in my peripheral vision was no longer in the periphery. It was in the center of the room. It was a shape, vaguely human, but tall, thin, and made of shimmering, television static light. It was a visual representation of the sound I'd been hearing. It didn't have a face, but I knew it was looking at me. It was in my apartment. It was in my car. I'd see it standing in the lab at the coroner's office, a glittering absence of reality standing over Dr. Chen's shoulder. He, of course, saw nothing. The psychological warfare began. It didn't touch me. It didn't have to. It mimicked. I would hear my own voice from the kitchen, whispering, "You're going insane, Alan. You know that, right? You're just another LA burnout." I'd hear Chen's voice. "You're fired, Kane. You're a disgrace. You contaminated the HPC evidence." I tried to reach out. I called my ex-girlfriend, Sarah. We'd broken up a few months prior, but we were still on speaking terms. She was a nurse, grounded, practical. She was my last tether to the rational world. I met her at a coffee shop in Santa Monica. I looked terrible. I hadn't slept in days. I was vibrating with paranoia. "Alan, my God, you look like you've seen a ghost," she said, her voice full of a pity that felt like acid. "Not a ghost, Sarah. Something else. In the autopsy, the Jackson case. I spilled everything. The slide, the anomaly, the sounds, the forum post, the glittering man made of static." Her face, at first concerned, hardened into a clinical mask. The nurse was evaluating the patient. "Alan," she said, her voice low and careful, "you're under immense stress. You're hallucinating. The pressure of that case, it's cracked you. You need to see someone. You need to take a leave of absence." "No, you don't understand," I hissed, grabbing her wrist. "It's real. It's a parasite. It fed on him, and now it wants to feed on me." She flinched, pulling her hand away. The fear in her eyes was not of the entity. It was of me. "I have to go," she said, standing up. "Please, Alan, get help." As she walked away, I saw it. The shimmering entity was standing right behind her. It reached out a long, static-filled hand and gently, almost lovingly, touched her on the shoulder. Sarah didn't feel it, but she stopped. She turned back to me, and her expression was empty. All the pity, all the fear was gone. There was only a cold, flat indifference. "Don't call me again," she said. Her voice was flat, hollow. The entity had severed my last tie. I was truly, completely isolated. I tried to fight it. I threw the microscope slide into the Santa Monica Bay. It didn't matter. The secret wasn't on the slide anymore. It was in me. I played loud music, rock, classical, static, to drown out the melody. But the entity joined the music. It twisted it. The soaring violins of Mozart became a discordant shriek. The guitar riffs of Led Zeppelin became the scraping of steel on bone. I was fired. My erratic behavior, my obsession with the HPC file, and the misplaced and stolen slide were more than enough. I locked myself in my apartment. The entity was always there now. It didn't hide. It stood in the corner of my living room, a 7-foot-tall column of glittering, auditory light. It no longer whispered. It sang. It was a beautiful, complex, impossible symphony that was, I realized, the sound of my own mind being rewritten. My thoughts were no longer my own. They were being tuned. I found myself moving. My fingers would tap out the rhythm on my knees. My feet would slide on the hardwood floor. I wasn't dancing. I was being danced. My body was a puppet, jerked by the strings of that terrible celestial melody. The entity was testing its new instrument. I knew I was running out of time. The final stage, according to the Post, was resonant consumption. It would hollow me out, replace me, and I would become a glittering, mindless shell, a beacon for it to feed on the resonance of my own private, agonizing terror. It was in the bathroom. I had retreated there. It was the smallest, most claustrophobic room. I was backed into the shower, a tile pressing into my spine. The entity was in the room with me, filling the space, the static of its form making the mirror ripple. The confrontation. It was fully manifested in the mirror. It was no longer a vague shape. It was me. A version of me made of silver light and screaming sound. It mimicked my terror-stricken pose. its head tilted with a cold, alien curiosity. The symphony was deafening. It was inside my skull. It was the sound of my own neurons firing to the entity's beat. I understood. The physicist was right. It fed on knowledge, on resonance. It had fed on the world's attention via its last host. Now, it was feeding on my terror. My focused, all-consuming, isolated knowledge of it was its feast. How do you kill a secret? How do you kill a sound? I couldn't destroy it. It wasn't physical, but I could starve it. The secret needed an audience, even an audience of one. It needed to be heard. My eyes darted around the bathroom. The melody was peaking, a glorious, agonizing crescendo. The glittering me in the mirror raised its hands, a conductor reaching the finale. I saw my water glass on the sink. I smashed it with a trembling hand. The sound was instantly swallowed by the entity's song. I grabbed a large, jagged shard. I looked at the thing in the mirror, my glittering, resonant double. "You want to be heard?" I screamed, my voice barely a croak. I didn't attack the mirror, I attacked the audience. I jammed the shard of glass into my left ear, twisting it with all my strength. The pain was white, absolute. The symphony faltered, becoming a discordant shriek. It wasn't enough. It could still hear from the other side. Before the pain could paralyze me, I plunged the bloody shard into my right ear. Agony. And then, silence. The glorious, beautiful, perfect silence of total, profound deafness. In the mirror, the glittering shape of me screamed. It made no sound, but its form convulsed. The static field tore apart. The silvery light shattered like a broken bulb. The entity, starved of its connection, its resonance, dissolved into nothing. I am writing this from a white room. It is clean. It is safe. They tell me I am at a long-term care facility in the San Bernardino Valley. They say I had a psychotic break brought on by stress. They say I mutilated myself. I have not heard a sound in 15 years. Not a voice, not a car, not the wind. I live in a world of absolute blessed silence. I am the man who knew the secret and survived. I am the marked witness. The doctors say I am making progress. They say I am reconciling with reality, but I know the truth. I am scarred, but I am free. I have only one rule. I never look at reflective surfaces for too long. Not a mirror, not a polished spoon, not a dark window at night, because the silence is perfect. I cannot hear it, but sometimes, just in the corner of my eye, in the reflection of the stainless steel tray they bring my food on, I still see it. A tiny, faint flicker, like a speck of glitter. The secret was not destroyed. It was just muted. It's waiting. It knows that secrets don't need to be heard to be known. They just need to be read.